Hey, what is going on, everybody? And I know that hitting out on the Farmability cadence is in season right now, and despite a few others already having done this, I want to do my own spin on this. And I haven't watched theirs, but we know that farmability for characters are at an all-time low, and I want to share with you all the data on this. And you know me, that means another spreadsheet on top of the ones that I already have. Now, we'll be going over a little bit again on my character spreadsheet where I got a lot of the data for this video from that one, and then share my most recent one where we discuss all of the farmable characters from January 2021 to now January 2022 and see where we are, how we got here, and what's left to do on the farmability spectrum. And you might be a bit surprised with some of this, and maybe you won't. But I want to raise this as an issue because it is, and the more of us talking about it, I think the better it will be, so that they can acknowledge why this is such a problem and where we go from here. So without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Alright everyone, so this is my character spreadsheet. Most of you who follow my channel are probably quite familiar that I pull this up fairly frequently because there's a lot of data in here from the characters that are released, the pre-offer release dates. That's what I call the, actually it's on the left-hand side here, I should have scrolled out, the pre-release offer column here. That's basically the dates on which they were released on the offer. The free-to-play release date is typically when it starts becoming available for us, and then the release method, the dates that it's available in the Orbs, Elite Store, and when it becomes farmable here. So how this is going to work is we're going to be starting here right around the end of patch 5.0 in January 2021. So in terms of character releases per month, that's kind of important, but in terms of the total number, I'm going to be using it in terms of the pre-release offer date. Now, this isn't the free-to-play date, but it is when it is available to the public and when we're able to pick those characters up. So when we look at the next spreadsheet and we take a look at how many characters each month were released, it's going to be with regards to these numbers here. And then, in terms of the farmability, this is going to vary a little bit. We'll kind of talk about the system that I'm using, what I consider farmable and what I don't. Now, this may vary to like what Scopely believes is farmable and what not, and so they haven't actually been very clear on certain issues, like the premium orb, for example. I don't know, and I can't remember if they've ever actually come out and said, yes, we consider the premium orb to be farmable, you know, whether that had been Cull Obsidian in the past, Kestrel, Deathpool, that stuff. I don't know if that's what they count. So when I do the calculations, I don't consider that farmable, so that's not going to be included. However, I have noted it on month on the different, and we'll look at that when we get to the spreadsheet. I have included that, but I don't consider it in the calculations, that's all. So we're going to be looking at two things here. Basically, I ripped out the pre-release offer dates because that's important to know how many characters were released per month, and then the farmable dates here, which is important to know, well, how many characters and which characters did we get each month. So that being said, let's jump on over to the sheet. This is just what I use to pull a lot of my information for this other sheet, which I'm going to call the character farmability chart. So this is a brand new spreadsheet that I created, of course, why not? And hopefully you guys can see this, because if I zoom in any further, it kind of cuts a few things out. So I kind of have to have it here. So I have this by date or by month. So January 2021 all the way to January 2022 with some conclusions at the end that we'll talk about. But let's start off first in what characters were made farmable in January 2021. So one of the first characters to come out was Swarm. This was in the Arena store. Ghost, we had, actually this is when Pimtech started becoming farmable, because in January of last year, that's when we were starting to prepare for Jubilee's release as a legendary event. So we did actually get all three of them, and you'll see when we kind of get towards other legendary characters that they normally come out in bursts, and that's where we see things sort of get more farmable, but then in a lot of other months where there's just either nothing or very low amounts. And I want to say before we really get started here, that at this point we were already kind of behind about 5 or 6 months. So even though you see a lot of green here on the side, this is what I call the net score column, and basically that compares to how many characters were farmable, were made farmable on that month, and then how many were released. So if it's in the green, that's actually good. That it means either we broke even or there was more farmable characters than released in that month, which is good. However, when the red is there, that's bad. And like I said, we were already at this point like 5 to 6 months behind of a character on farmability. So that's not a good position to be in. You know, personally, I think I know people are going to disagree with me. I think 4 months is fair. I think if a character goes any more than 4 months, I think that's really, really bad. We've seen in the past that characters have gone either from 6 to 9 months from being farmable, and that's just really not a good thing. But to continue on with this, so towards the end of January, we got a lot of the Pimtech characters, Ghost Stature and Yellow Jacket, because that was required for the Jubilee unlock, and that's why we got so many in this month, and that netted it a +1 score. We had 3 characters released in January of 2021 from the winter patch, but that did result in a +1, you know, in terms of the farmability, and that's good, you know, but it didn't carry on that way. So as far as I'm aware, and this may have been a, you know, I looked at all of my characters, unless I missed somebody, you know, the only character that we got in February 2021 for farmability was Electro in the Blitz store. I scoured my page and I did not see anything else in the February column, and that seemed to be about it. So this was bad, because if you consider legendary characters to be, well, released characters in this case, then we were at a net negative of -2, because we had 3 characters released in February, including Jubilee, but only 1 character made farmable in form of Electro. Now in March, we got Baron Zemo. This was released in the Raid store, and then we had Beast later on, and he was made available as a node, where he is now in Nexus. Now, in March, we had 2 released characters. I would have to go back and mirror my other sheet to really tell you exactly which patch was which characters. I think this was Shadowland, or thereabouts, I'm pretty sure, because Shadowland was after Jubilee. But either way, we had a net score of 0, which means that 2 were released, 2 were made farmable. We didn't move anywhere, and for me, that's, I guess, a good thing, because it didn't go backwards. So I have a red in the column when it goes backwards, and that's a bad thing. So here we are in April. We had She-Hulk in the Blitz store made farmable, and then we had Scream. Now, this was the first iteration of the Arena Orb, and a lot of people didn't like this. So for this, Scream is not considered farmable because of the Arena Orb. However, at that same time, Red Guardian was put into the Arena store at 975 credits. That's what started this whole Arena Orb and 975 credits, if you guys remember that, for those of you who were there. And so for that reason, I don't consider Scream farmable, but I do consider She-Hulk and Red Guardian. So that was 2 farmable characters, but a total release of 3 at that time, which gives us a net score of -1. Okay, moving on to May, we had Yelena released in the node. We had Yo-Yo moved into the Raid store. This is also the same month that Anti-Venom was put into the Premium Orb, and because of that, I don't consider him to be farmable. That's why characters are highlighted orange, or yellow, or whatever color you want to call that, because I don't consider that to be farmable, and these are the different instances where I don't. So that means 2 farmable, 2 were released in that month. We have a net score of 0, which is okay, neither forward or backwards, but you know, you can see here at this point, we're already -3 compared to a +1, which is a net result of -2, which is not good at this point. You know, because we're only getting roughly 1 to 2 characters farmable on average per patch, that means we're already at this point back a month further by May 2021. So June, this is a little bit interesting here, because this is how we're ramping up for Adam Warlock and the Infinity Watch patch. June was the Infinity Watch patch, so that was when Phyla-Vell and Moondragon were coming out, which is Moondragon, you know, the character that's still not farmable to this day after how many months had passed. So Longshot came out in the War Store. He was the first one, and for anyone who cares, the order here, character 1, 2, and 3, whatever, this is in the order in which they were made farmable in that month. I don't have the exact date here, otherwise the chart would get pretty saturated and stuff, so it's not important. I just put the mode in which they were made farmable. Shatterstar was made available in Arena Orb 2, and so the reason why this is highlighted green is actually not because of Shatterstar. It's actually because that means that Scream was then moved from the Arena Orb to 975 credits, so I considered that to be farmable. So Shatterstar did not become farmable at this point for me, but it was Scream that became made farmable at that point. So that's when it get moved in that way, and I want to highlight this for every time the Arena Orb gets a new person in there. Multiple Man was put onto a node in Doomwar 3.9, and Polaris was put into Cosmic. So for this, actually a total of 4 farmable characters if you consider Scream, not Shatterstar. And so with the release of Adam Warlock, that was 3 characters released, giving us a +1. So that's good, because it had been a while since that had actually happened. Now, looking at July, there was a lot of interesting things going on in July, because there were a lot of characters that were made farmable that were kind of like well in the past that probably should have been made farmable at this point. So Iceman and Kitty Pryde, as part of the Astonishing X-Men, they were made farmable here very early on. Iceman in the node in Villain 7.9, replacing Ironheart, and then Ironheart was actually moved into the Blitz store. I'm not considering that at all because she was already made farmable, so she just got moved. That's all. Kitty Pryde was moved into the Raid store, and then Cull Obsidian, who was previously in the Premium Orb exclusive, was put into the War store. Now, at the same time, I don't have it listed because I ran out of character slots. Kestrel was put and replaced instead of Cull Obsidian here, and basically took his place in the Premium Orb. So that doesn't get counted either because I don't consider Premium Orbs farmable. And then at this time, Agent Coulson, they created and they came out with this Milestone 2 Orb. Agent Coulson was pushed out of the original Milestone 1 Orb and then put into the Blitz store as well. So around the same month, we had Ironheart in the Blitz store and Agent Coulson in the Blitz store. But I really didn't consider that a huge deal, but it does count nonetheless, I guess, you know, even though nobody really raises him anymore. Emma Frost was moved into the new Milestone 2 Orb alongside Symbiote Spider-Man, who was put in there much later. And so at this point, I don't consider Emma Frost to be farmable for the same reason as the Premium Orb exclusive. So here we are with a grand total of 4 characters, actually, but 3 were released in this patch, which then gives us a score of +1. So we're doing a little bit better. At this point, we're like ahead a month, or we've kind of like fixed sort of the stuff that happened back here in April and February. So you can see that's going on here. Now in August, we had Bishop. Now he was moved to the War store, and then at this point, you have most of the Astonishing X-Men, or all the Astonishing X-Men available to farm at this point. And White Tiger came out in the Blitz Orb. Now, this was the first movement here, alongside Domino. So, Domino was moved out of the Blitz Orb and moved into the store. Now, I consider the Blitz Orb to be farmable. Some people may disagree on this one, but as far as orbs go, Blitz Orbs are way easier to open in abundance than, say, the Arena Orb, and the drop rates actually are better at 10%, so it's not too bad considering how many orbs you need to open in order to get the shards for it, so I actually don't think it's that bad. So for the purposes of this, I do consider the Blitz Orb farmable, so this doesn't count because you're moving Domino from the orb to the store. So if I counted the orb as farmability, then Domino had already been farmable at that point, which is why it's highlighted in yellow. However, I do consider White Tiger at this point becoming farmable, being inserted into the orb. So this is where you get a total of 2 characters. There were 2 characters released for this month, and so you land a score of 0. Phyla-Vell in September 2021. Now, she was the 3rd character to enter the Arena Orb. The reason why this is highlighted in green, like I mentioned before, so Shatterstar was moved at this point into 975 credits, so Shatterstar at this point becomes farmable. Moon Knight was added to a node. That's 2 farmable characters, released of 2 characters, giving us a net score of 0. So things aren't really moving too much, even though it's not going backwards, it's not really getting too much better. In October 2021, this is when we're prepping for Omega Red, and so Maria Hill into the War store, Cam Sam into the node, and Sharon Carter in the Raid store. And you might notice that this is actually where we start getting the net positives in the farmable score because of any time that we're prepping for a legendary event. So if we went backwards to here X Factor and we had all 4 of them, more or less, in that patch of June 2021, you know, we did have a net score of 1. So this is when things were a little bit better. Same with the Pimtech, you know, Swarm, Ghost, Swarm aside, Ghost, Stature, and Yellow Jacket, you know, we had a net score of 1. So it seems that only when the legendary characters are coming back around is where things get better. So Maria Hill in the War store, Cap Sam on Doom War 26, and then Sharon in the Raid store. There was 2 characters released in that month. So there may have been 2 or 3 characters in a particular patch, but I'm considering the dates in terms of the month date. So in some cases it's 2, some cases it's 3. Net score of +1 here. So now we move on to November 2021, and this is where things really start to slow down a little bit here. So we had Misty Knight, she was put into the Blitz Orb, and Colleen Wing was added to the Arena Orb as the 4th entry, I guess, into the orb. And what that means is then Phyla-Vell had become farmable at the 975 credit range. And so Colleen Wing doesn't get farmability, but Phyla-Vell does here in November. That's 2 characters. There were 3 characters. Oh, I don't even know why I mentioned this here. So I missed the block here. So 3 with Omega Red. That means we're actually at a score of -1. So at this point, and I forgot to enter that. That's my bad. And then I need to also highlight it red for that. So A little bit of a mistake here on my part. I didn't finish it clearly. And so now this is where things really start snowballing downwards. As you guys know, this brings us to December 2021, and this is when Anti-Venom was put into the War Store at the beginning of the month. I think it was like December 3rd or something like that. And then at the same time, Deathpool was put into the Premium Orb. Once again, I don't consider this to be farmable because it's a load of shit. Frankly. And then, so we had a total of 3 characters released as part of the beginning of the winter patch. We had Ghost Spider, we had Magic, and we had Scarlet Spider towards the end of the month as far as an offer release went towards the end of the year here. And that puts us at a -2 score. 1 character made farmable, and then 3 characters resulting in a -2. Now, Shang-Chi at the beginning of this month was put into the Blitz Orb. So yeah, I do consider this to be farmable because you could, if you had a lot of Blitz credits, and I have a lot of Blitz credits, you could spam open a ton of those, and I was able to get them to 6-star. Hell, I could probably get them to 7-star. I just really don't want to open the Blitz Orbs one at a time when I have like 300,000 credits, and it just takes forever. So maybe one day when they open a slider, or let us open a shit ton of orbs, you know, I'll do that then. But for now, I'm not going to do that. There were 2 characters released in this month. We had Spider-Punk, and then we had Star-Lord T'Challa. So we're actually at a net score of -1. And so the subtotal here is that we had 33 characters released in these 12 months period between January 2021 and January 2022. But the total net score is -3, which is not a good grade. That's not a good grade. That's anywhere from an extra 1 to 1.5 months, depending on how many characters are released each month, in terms of how much more backwards we are. And like, if you guys remember from the beginning of the video, we were already at this point like -5 months behind in terms of characters released. So where does that put us now? And just as a reminder, like I said, I do count Blitz Orbs and when characters move from the Arena Orb to Store Farmable, but I don't count Premium Orbs and Milestone Orbs. So where does that leave us? And this is the conclusion. This is my conclusion. So characters currently unfarmable as of January 25, 2022, which is when I'm recording this video now. Legendaries and Dormammu's aside, because I don't count that, we have 16 characters unfarmable because Emma, Deathpool, and Kestrel to me don't count due to the exclusivity of the Milestone Orb and the Premium Orb. We're roughly 5 to 8 months behind depending on the amount of total farm releases. You know, if we're getting 1 a patch, 2 a patch, maybe 3, but you know, because we're 16 behind, you know, if you were to do 2 a month, that's 8 months behind. If we did 3 a month, we're about 5-ish months behind. If you do 1 a month, we're 16 months behind. But usually it's on average, I would say, at least 2. 1 has been a weird exception for January and December, and it's been really bad because it's causing an even bigger backlog, and they really need to fix this soon. Now, are they waiting for the Grand Tournament shop to add characters there? That's been a question that I've been having because that is supposed to be coming out in the near future, like pretty soon, I would think, like within the next patch or 2. So are there going to be a lot more characters added there if there's going to be some sort of currency related to the Grand Tournament store? And that's why, you know, they're planning on maybe making a bulk of these characters farmable there, possibly. I don't know. So this is where I'd like to get some input from you guys and really understand what do you think? Do you think they're just crazy and that they're just screwing us for no reason? Or do you think there's a plan? Do you think there's a reason why they've been dragging their heels on a lot of characters? I don't know, you know, but all I know is the numbers here, and this is basically what we're at. So we're roughly 5 to 8 months behind in this game for farmable characters, and that's where it continues to sit. You know, if you look at the chart here, we're at a net -3 overall. 3 characters, -3, as in things are getting worse by 3 characters in the last 12 months, and that's not good. We really need to improve this, and we're gonna probably need to see some months of at least 3, maybe 4 characters a month to really pick up this backlog, because this is pretty bad. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about character farmability and how bad this has gotten. We don't even have Moondragon yet. You know, I have to say that this point on, and I'm gonna end there, is the fact that we don't have Moondragon available. And where is she on my list here? Moondragon has been out for I have an amount of days. 229 days as of recording this video. Moondragon has been out. That's almost not 30 times 8. I think that's almost 8 months. And that's pretty unacceptable. So, yeah, that needs to be fixed ASAP. So that's where we're going to end. Moondragon probably will be the next farmable character, but the fact that it's been 8 months and some of these characters are getting on a lot of time as well is pretty unacceptable. So, yes, let me know in the comments down below. This is trash, and we need to let them know that, and the community managers and the devs need to know as well. So that's the end of this video. Until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.